Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite shows on television right now, Succession. It's in the middle of filming season 3. It was unfortunately put on, the production had to hold because of this COVID-19 virus, which is something that we should all take seriously. But I'm making this video and producing it to get my mind off of it and help get your minds off of it, especially if you love Succession because it's such a great show. One of the really cool things about Succession is the way that it takes the real world corporate America and it uses that as inspiration for great ideas of its own, in particular with this Logan Roy family, with all the Roy children, the two marriages. It's a very interesting story that's a lot of people have compared to Shakespeare, not original in saying that, but it's a really fascinating way to update that sort of thing and to put it in a modern corporate environment and to really reflect what our society is. But with that academic-y jargon out the way, I'm really interested in making a video about different CEOs and industries that could inspire future seasons of Succession. So, for instance, I really think Oprah would be a very interesting person to bring onto the show. Not the actual person Oprah, but a character inspired by her in the same way that Connor is sort of inspired by Donald Trump in the fact that he's a business person running for political office, running for president. I think that a character who is inspired by Oprah, who the audience would be like, oh, this is probably based on Oprah, would be really interesting to have on the show, especially because I don't see her although Oprah is a CEO of her own company, I would be interested in seeing Oprah brought in as an investor, especially someone of a different racial backgrounds compared to the Logans who are, so the Roy family who are white, and the way that they might adjust to having to deal with that, having to deal with those cultural and racial differences. Like, would they be impolite? Would they be a little bit weird in some of their language and be a little bit offensive? I think that'll be really interesting to see as they try to lure her into investing into their company, because we know the Roys always have such an issue having cash on hand and trying to get out of these binds. So I think that would be really cool to have a character like Oprah, especially because maybe the person who she vibes most with is Connor, because Connor sort of has a little bit of that talk showy, showboaty vibe, and maybe he would be the one to connect the most with this Oprah-like character. Also, so moving on from that part, I just want to say also that all the people who I'm going to mention, they're open to being race bends or gender bends. It doesn't literally have to be, the inspiration toe to toe, because it's part of creativity. So another person who I think would be really interesting to have on the show would be a Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk sort of hybrid. So we know that Waystar Royco isn't as future oriented as a company like Tesla. So perhaps seeing what they think of an Elon Musk type of person. Do they think an Elon Musk type of person is really stuffy and snooty, and maybe they look down on them for trying to be all extra and fun? That would be kind of interesting to see. So I would really be interested in seeing that sort of techie person. And if you were to combine that Elon Musk type with a Jack Dorsey type, so Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter currently. He's the founder and CEO of Twitter. He also is the CEO of Square, which is behind the Cash App. So Jack Dorsey would also be as a melange, a mixture with Elon Musk would be really fascinating. So Jack Dorsey is known for being although he runs Twitter, he's a very meditative and spiritual person. He's very controversial to some people, but he is known for meditation practices. So I think it'd be really fascinating if Roman, is decides that he needs to really chill. Maybe the family recommends he goes on a spiritual retreat, or maybe he decides that randomly because of some of his latest shenanigans. I think it'd be really cool to see Roman meet this Jack Dorsey, Elon type character on a meditation retreat, and to see how they kind of vibe, especially like those two different personalities, because I think Jack Dorsey is sort of like a mellow guy from the podcast and the interviews that I've seen with him. I think it'd be, and he was really committed to making Twitter sort of help the spirit of conversation and discourse. Now, obviously, there are so many issues with Twitter, and I'm not saying he's the best CEO, although I think he does a pretty good job. So I think it'll be really interesting to see him rub up against Roman in Succession. Anyway, one of the other people, the last CEO I'm really thinking about for the Succession season 3, would be a Jeff Bezos type. Now, I think in this sort of instance, I might not literally want a Jeff Bezos analog, but I would really be inspired to use a piece of Jeff Bezos' life. So if we wanted to go with the route of taking Jeff Bezos and putting him into the show, a Jeff Bezos stand-in, there's a lot of that we could do there. So we know that Logan is really concerned with absorbing all the news. There's that one line, I think, in season 2 where Roman says, Dad, you can't own all the news. And we know that Logan really wants to own all the news, which is why he was in the process of buying the CNN stand-in season 2. So Jeff Bezos is someone who owns his own newspaper. So it would be interesting to see if Waystar Royco how invested are they in print paper? Are they trying to own something that's like the equivalent of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal? What kind of papers do they own, and do they own the best one? I don't think we've discussed that so far. And are they a news organization? Do they have a news organization that's like the New York Times, where it's always in the headlines because of the Trump presidency as a scapegoat? Or do they own, or is this Jeff Bezos type of guy the one who owns this type of paper? Another thing I'd be really interested in doing with, if we didn't want to take Jeff Bezos as a whole, if we could pluck a little piece of his life out. So he had that alleged affair with Lauren Sanchez, and he was being blackmailed, and his nudes were going to get leaked, so he released his own nudes. It was like a big scandal that happened, I believe, last year or the year before. So it would be really, and this was while Jeff Bezos was married. So, I mean, obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know, like, if he really cheated on his wife or not, but this was in his blog post that he made about it. So it'd be really interesting if we took that Jeff Bezos situation with Lauren Sanchez's alleged mistress, and we put that with Kendall, because if you remember at the end of season 2 of Succession, Kendall decided to do a 180. He flipped on his father because his father was constantly betraying him, and Kendall had a press conference where he basically was like, "Hey, all that mess that went down with the cruise ships, all the cover-ups, that was not on me. That was on my papa." And that was like a wild moment, and then he ripped up the pages like Nancy Pelosi did at the State of the Union. It was fucking great. It was great. It was great. So anyway, I think it'll be really cool to have that sort of scandal. And the reason why I think, getting back to my original point, the reason why I think that scandal would really work in this season of Succession is Kendall has taken a dick pic for the girl he was dating, who Logan didn't let on the boat. So what if Logan, kind of taking from the Murdochs, got someone to hack her or Kendall's phone, and then he tried to blackmail Kendall in an attempt to keep Waystar Royco in his hands? I think that would be pretty epic, and it would really it would be really like a gigantic battle between the two, because are you really going to want a CEO whose nude photos are out there? And it's a very modern storyline, and I think it would be really complicated. How would Kendall be able to deny it? Like, there's a whole lot that you could do there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, all the jazz, share, and more importantly, just enjoy Succession, because it's such a beautiful show. And Shiv and Kendall, all Jeremy Strong, I forget Shiv's actor's name, but Brian Cox, all those guys, they deserve the moon. They're so good at what they do, and I'm really impressed by it. And get ready for season 3, which I believe comes out in August.